Yo, welcome to another episode of the BJJ Goons podcast. I'm one half of the team, Mushmaster Tim Spriggs, and with me as always every week is...
Yo, what's up everybody? It's Nico Ball. Glad to be back finally. We definitely have been missing some episodes to the last couple of months or whatnot, but not in my defense. I did it all. I fucked up. First I messed up the recording, and then I was actually sick, so I was dying over the holidays. But Tim, how are your holidays?
My holidays are pretty dope. I had a lot of professional accomplishments within the last 2 weeks. It's been a very good 2-week span in my life. I was very stressed out for most of 2022. I've been grinding and hustling in different arenas, and I've made a few very great breakthroughs within the last I'd say the last 2 weeks have been a really great time for me as far as accomplishing goals. 2023 is going to be even better because every day I grind. I may not be the most physically gifted. I may not be the most intellectually gifted, but no one can outgrind me. And I'm really feeling myself right now. 2023, the Jordan year, will be my year.
Okay, so there's no warm, fuzzy family feelings about the holidays? There's none of that?
I make sure the people that I care about know I care about them and I love them all year round, not just during the holidays. Warm and fuzzies? Yeah, I think I had some warm and fuzzies this holiday season, but man, I was hustling, man. I don't know about y'all, but the holiday season, I don't really consider that shit a holiday. Since I've been an adult, I've been having to hustle and grind. The holidays are not touchy-feely, warm and fuzzy. I be on the fucking grind. Times is hard out here, and I had to make do. I had to make shit happen, and I made that shit happen. I made my own Christmas.
True. I think Christmas is particularly darkened by the fact that Europeans looms right around the corner. So if you're planning on, one, having to drop that money on traveling all the way to France now, again, I think it's for the second or the third year that it's been in France. So that is, when does it start? Maybe next week? By
the time you guys see this, it will have almost started.
Do you know when European starts? Because this is it's Thursday. This drops Monday.
Well, I'm going to hit the Google machine and see.
Yeah, so that's really hard, definitely during the holidays. When you have a fight that's right around or right after a holiday, and especially if it's MMA or Muay Thai where you actually have to cut a substantial amount of weight and you can't eat, or you might have to cut out sodium, that is the worst. We've all gone through it. So shout out to everybody that is preparing for Europeans. Shout out to everybody that was not able to go to Europeans this year because it was in Paris. I know some people were talking about the financial difficulties because especially if you're a lower belt, you don't know what day you're going to fight. It could be a 2 or 3 days that they put you on the schedule. So you kind of just got to chill in Paris for a week. And then also it's always dope to be able to see the black belts compete if you can. So just that not knowing of when you're actually going to compete in Europeans, what days, it kind of extends out your trip. And I know some people reached out to me and they said they had teammates that couldn't go because it's just too expensive to stay in Paris for that whole week. So that really sucks. I wish IBJJF would. Realistically, I want to move it back to Portugal because I have friends and everything in Portugal, but just being realistic about expensive cities and hosting major competition in expensive cities would be fantastic. So you got the dates, Tim?
I do.
Okay.
January 23rd to the 29th. So
end of January. Okay, it's end of January.
We may be able to do some vlogging at Team Lloyd Irvin headquarters because this is right towards the tail end of training camp for Europeans. I like Europeans. I love the European experience. Last time I went internationally, I've traveled internationally since then, but pre-COVID, I had some really fun times in Europe. But as far as a tournament, I love the European Open. It starts the Grand Slam season for gi. The Grand Slam season for no gi is basically, it's kind of dry. There's no gi pans and there's no gi worlds, but gi jiu-jitsu still reigns supreme internationally. And Europeans is one of the more difficult tournaments to win. There are a lot of very good grapplers in Europe.
Yeah, you got a lot of, because you get a lot of the Europeans, like, we're so used to, like, as Americans, like, we're very spoiled with having worlds in our country. So, like, you get, like, a lot more of the American competition. But in Europeans, there's a different number of athletes that can actually afford to go and compete if you're from Europe.
Yeah. It's an expensive trip, yes. A lot of great matches happen in Europeans. My first Grand Slam title in jiu-jitsu was at a European Open. A lot of legendary matches, in my opinion. I was really blessed to be able to compete in Europeans at the era that I did, because I got to see guys that now don't even compete anymore, like Rodolfo, Bruno Marfesine, Michael Lange, Bernardo Faria. A lot of really difficult matches. I've said it before in the podcast. I think that in order for jiu-jitsu to really grow as a sport, we have to treat all the Grand Slams equally, in my opinion, just like they treat tennis, because since it's not really a fully professional sport yet, by it I mean jiu-jitsu, professional grappling, guys don't have the wherewithal or the financial ability to be able to fly out to all these Grand Slams. Very few people do. I mean, people can do it, but it's really difficult. And the Europeans, to a lot of the people that compete in Europe, that are from Europe, this is like their worlds. They cater their year around it, and it's a very difficult tournament to win. It's the equivalent to a Brasileiro, where people may not be able to have the funds to go through the process, to be able to get a visa, to be able to come here. And for people that are from these areas, they put everything into this competition, and you don't win Europeans being a slouch. It's the same pitfalls you can face at Worlds, you can face at Europeans. I look forward to seeing that if my Flow account does not die. Like, I don't plan on paying for Flow anymore because I don't watch that much jiu-jitsu, so I'm gonna pirate it or have somebody give me.
Wait, you had a Flow account?
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
I did, yeah. When I did that fucking not the podcast. When I did that fucking reality show, they didn't give me a free fucking account.
They don't. They would be real stingy with them free accounts.
They must not be doing too well. Like, you can't get motherfucker.
I mean, like, wealthy people say, I saw this just on a movie, is like when somebody found out that their friend was like hella rich and she was like an assistant, and she's like, why didn't you never tell me anything? You never pay for anything. And she's like, well, that's how I stay wealthy.
That's cap. Wealthy people are greedy. Nonetheless, I can't wait to
That was the point. She wasn't paying for anything. Like, she wouldn't pay for anything, not nothing. She was acting like she was a broke assistant, but she had like millions. And it's like, okay, you pay for everything.
Eat the rich. Speaking of rich people.
Are we eating people?
No. This is not the cannibal podcast. Speaking of rich people, there's a really
Hold on, before we start speaking about rich people, like, the reason we were talking about Europeans, because we never talk about this other than personally, Jamil is going to Europeans this year.
He is.
Boom. Jamil and Corey Walker. I'm pretty sure it's Corey Walker because Master Lloyd said Corey. And then I forget which one it was. But, like, Corey Walker's been the one that's going around.
Big Breakfast, Elijah Dorsey's going as well.
Oh, well, if Elijah's going, then it might be his brother, the Corey, that's going. So
I can't assume that.
Hold on, let me check Master Lloyd's messages. But that's what we were talking about, which is really dope.
Will be in the house.
That's really dope to see, like, TLI athletes going out there. I've been wanting to see them. Like, I've been wanting to, like, make them go with me, especially when it was at in Portugal, and then they're going a year when I can't go, which really sucks.
It's gonna be dope to see those guys compete at Europeans. I don't think they've ever gone to Europe to compete. I know I went to Korea with Jamil for the Spider Invitational. Very interesting experience. Man, I miss doing the gi. Some days I think, once I get my life together fully, maybe I make a run at a gi world title. No, I've been lifting weights. I'm pretty jacked right now, so I might not do heavyweight anymore. But ultra, like, I just eat a shitload of food and start powerlifting even heavier. Go up to ultra heavy, because they don't play guard at ultra heavy, and I'm pretty good at takedowns. Shit, just do judo and guard passing and go for ultra heavyweight world title. I'm just talking shit, though.
Wow.
You don't even.
No, I'm listening to you, but also I was texting Master Lloyd to try to figure out which Corey, and then Yeah, you were
One of
talking
the
about
chorus-
going back to competing like ultra heavy in the weight classes and whatnot. But then I realized that like some weird dude just messaged me.
Oh well, damn.
Yeah, I found it in my request when I was trying to.
The plight of women in the jiu-jitsu world, their DMs are just flooded with guys with eggplant emojis and unsolicited dick pics, just trying to get up in them gi pants. But speaking of wealthy people,
yeah,
there's a wealthy guy that's in some hot water.
Which one of all of them? There's some wealthy men in hot water this week.
There's
Tim.
always wealthy guys in hot water.
So who we starting with?
Well, the only wealthy guy that I have on this outline that I know is wealthy, or I would assume is wealthy, is Dana White.
Okay, yeah.
Dana White got put on that Summer Jam screen. He was out here getting tipsy. Everybody in the club getting tipsy.
So he was
with his wifey, his baby mama, and they got in a little scuffle, a little squabble.
They were inebriated on New Year's Eve in Cabo con la familia.
His wife tried to slap the Dana White off of him, and he slapped her back.
So that's an interesting point. I think that they kind of like skip over. I was like, he was assaulted first. Not that it makes it okay for him to assault back, but they were just like, they are a saucy couple apparently.
Wow. I feel like I want to save my full thoughts for the Patreon, and I probably will.
No, we're not. We're not bringing this topic up again two times today. So drop it. Why y'all see Tim always trying to keep the good shit from y'all, and I really need to stop cursing. But
who cares? Who cares? We can cuss. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as common decency anymore. I think in situations like this that everyone needs to keep their hands to themselves. If you're that frustrated with somebody, whether you're a woman dating a man dating a woman, a man dating a man, or a woman dating a woman, or a they, them, whatever pronoun you are, if you're that frustrated with a person that you want to put your hands on them, just step away and break up. Because it never ends well. Even if no one gets charges pressed on them, why you want to go Street Fighter with your boo? I
mean, I think the people that you want to put your hands on the most might be people that you love. Like, because you're very emotional and you're very passionate. Like, whether you know that you shouldn't we all know that we shouldn't put our hands on people, but...
Hey, I mean, temperatures rising in that situation. They're both drinking. And when your temperatures are rising, you're drinking, and... I call New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, amateur hour, where everybody's out acting a damn fool. Bad things happen. And then when you add the fact that he's a VIP, very famous person. You're going out in the club. Why are you in there with normies? If I have, no offense, but...
I mean, who knows if he was in normies? Like, he could have been in Cabo. He could have been in the VIP, but it could have been anybody. Like, you can be up in the VIP and still be scandalous, but like, it's just interesting. Like, what I've seen is like people thinking that ESPN didn't respond well because ESPN was like, oh, well, we have nothing to do with this. Like, UFC, whatever, we just like pay to produce them because I guess they're too big to care. And then others thinking that he should be fired, which I don't think will ever happen.
Well, I think my opinion on the actual incident is if you want to be with somebody, if you're with someone and you feel like you want to hit them, don't, because it's not a good look. That never ends well. If it gets to that point, there's other issues with your relationship that you should probably be dealing with. And everyone needs to put their hands to themselves. And it's never a good look if he's somebody you're with that you feel like you got to put hands on them. And it's fucked up. But we know what else is fucked up? That there are people that just go around videotaping other human beings. That's very strange. That's a violation of people's personal privacy. And it sucks.
Oh, that's definitely not strange anymore, I don't think. Like, that's all we ever do is just kind of like watch people and try to record it and then like try to make a reel and find like a hype trending audio to put on it.
That's the world we live in.
Yeah.
And I hate that we live in that world where people try to get off. I think there's a whole industry in people just going on camera, shitting on other people. You know, like, just go on camera, try to judge people, and there's like that's a career now. You just judge people's whole fucking life. You take a snippet of somebody's life, you stalk people essentially, you follow them around, and you look for every little thing that they do wrong or what you think is wrong, and just shit on them. And you know, I had an epiphany recently, or not an epiphany. I always felt this way, but I've finally been able to articulate how I feel about that. There's two things that epiphanies that I've had recently that I've been able to articulate. One, things are only bad or wrong if someone you don't like does it.
Oh, I had this conversation with somebody, like a photographer that knows Lenny, actually. This week we were talking about integrity. And it's like, oh, we only have integrity after we finish eating.
What do you mean?
Like, you got to feed yourself. So, like, you're going to do whatever. Like, you're going to feed yourself by any means necessary. So, it's like, it's only wrong if, like, it's somebody that you don't like does it. Like, when it's your friend, you kind of look the other way. Like, if it's you, for example, and you're like, oh, I'm doing it for my son, I'm doing it for my family, you justify it. For sure.
That's our reptilian brain working. Another epiphany I had, and this is the attitude a lot of people have, not necessarily me, but yeah, it's probably me too. Everyone is entitled to their opinion unless I disagree, at which point this person should be canceled and silenced. And those two epiphanies that I've had, in my opinion, explain the whole discourse in like humanity now. Because we don't talk to people anymore in person. We don't have to deal with people in person anymore. And we are eternally online. We are just in line online. Scrolling online. So perpetually online. And people also are criminally horny online. Where like people just get their shit off online. That's a totally another story. But this is the world we live in. And yes, it's wrong to put hands on people that you love. And it's fucked up. But at the same token, what else is fucked up is people don't even... I think deep down, people really don't give a fuck about shit like this. Like, people like are mad. Like, people don't like Dana White, right? There are people that really don't like Dana White, and they're going to do everything they can to shit on him because they don't like this dude. But like I said before, if it's somebody you don't like, it's wrong. If it's somebody you like, you try to explain the shit away. And that's the world we live in. Because now, like, I know it's fucked up that he did it, but at the same token, it's like, I don't like Dana White, so I'm happy that he's getting shit on. You know what I mean? But that's just me.
True,
and it's crazy. And you know what else is interesting? Like, you know, there's people in the UFC, and it makes, bar none, it makes the sport look bad when the head of the company is putting hands on his girl. But then again, you know, the first ESPN show that they did have Greg Hardy on the show.
What did Greg Hardy do?
Well, Greg Hardy used to play in the NFL. He was actually pretty fucking good at football. And he got in this trouble with his girl. Like, apparently he put a gun to her head, like, whooped her ass and all this stuff. But Greg Hardy was in the UFC for a pretty long time, pretty substantial amount of time. And, you know, he beat up his girlfriend. And now you look at Dana White. But if you look at the discourse in combat sports, specifically MMA and jiu-jitsu, I'm not surprised that, one, people are caping for this dude, and two, that it's kind of getting swept under the rug because in combat sports, in hyper-masculine arenas, domestic abuse is kind of just like, oh, well, you know. And for him, he's kind of lucky because the video shows his woman putting hands on him first.
Yeah, and you got to kind of think about, like, how do you define domestic abuse? And by no means do I want to say that it is okay for a man to slap a woman. Like, the act is clearly wrong. But, like, how are we, like, defining domestic abuse? Is it a habit? Is it systematic? Like you're doing it repeatedly? Because I know a lot of crazy people in very happy marriages, and like I had this as an alarm. And like I just put it there so I could remember this person and the car accident. And what happened was like his baby mama and his wife, who he still loves to this day, who I just recently met, this woman, his wife, who was notably, I think she was looking for a gun to go like run up on somebody that had stolen some like EBT or like some food stamps, but whatever, like that. Like some people are like that. It's not okay, but they are like that. The alarm was to remind me that at one point, like, he had shot at her while she was in the car with his child. Like, and he's a very funny person. Like, he comes through, he makes everybody laugh. He's, like, very gregarious. For some reason, like, he's everybody a friend because he's a very charismatic person. But I had that alarm to remember, like, this person that makes you forget, like, that he did this also at one point shot at his wife. People do things like that, and it's not to say that that's obviously wrong. There's obviously an underlying problem, and like that problem is not going to be like solved by us talking about it on social media. So like I also strongly believe that Dana slapping his wife is none of our fucking business. Like, should he be fired?
What is firing going to do?
I mean, technically, like a woman would say, like, I did it in self-defense. Like, so, and not to say, again, like, that sounds really bad, but it's like, I think like this isn't something, it's not our right to give our opinion on social media about what happened. Like, we don't know. Somebody needs to investigate it, and the people that are well informed on the situation and what is happening. Cause like she's come out and she's made a statement, like, but did she make this statement under duress or this or that? Like, we're not like, who are we to sit here on Instagram and speculate on domestic violence? And then like the more that people weigh in, the harder it is for like maybe actual victims, like, cause we don't know who's weighing in and like what side is winning, and then other victims are seeing it. So I think it's really important that this be addressed in a manner that's appropriate, and social media is definitely not in the manner. Like ESPN giving their statement, like, we all know it was wrong, just like Dana said, we all know it was wrong. And it's like, but like what needs to happen? Y'all need to go to therapy, like, and this is like, again, like patient, like doctor-patient privilege. Like, so that's definitely something that needs to be addressed. I think like we need to hold, like we as viewers need to hold them accountable, but we don't need to give our opinions because we know it's bad. If your opinion ain't bad actually, but like to sit there weighing in too much, like.
I think social media was a mistake because I don't think that our time on earth should be used to be judge, jury, and executioner of people's lives, good, bad, or indifferent. And I hate virtue signaling. I fucking hate virtue signaling because it just doesn't seem authentic to me. Because whether or not Dana White beats the hell out of his wife, it doesn't affect my life. And I mean that, like, I think it's wrong to beat up someone that you love, whatever the situation, man, woman, man, it's fucked up. Yeah, it's sad. But for me to try to just go on this fucking online campaign, try to get this man hemmed up, trying to get this man fired, just because for whatever reason I'm projecting whatever horrible things that happen in my life, or I think I'm making a difference in the world, you're really not making a difference in the world. You're just wasting your fucking time. So for me, that's why I think social media is a mistake, because you had all these journalists weighing in and thinking that using their platform, which is like thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people, to try to chime in. Yo, bro, let me be honest, people. You don't got to chime in on every fucking thing. Because to me, there's far more important things going on in the world than what some guy that is famous for stealing fighters' money and basically being like a Mandingo fight promoter does with him and his wife. Like, it's fucked up, but at the end of the day, I feel as though I don't want to put that much energy into it because I'm going to use my platform to just talk shit. I'm going to be real with y'all. Like, I really just be on the microphone talking shit. And like, what the fuck do I know? Because I don't know their situation. But I will say this. If you're dating somebody and you feel like you man enough to put hands on them, just leave, because there's literally billions of people out there in this world. You don't have to be with someone that makes you that mad.
Yeah, there's a lot of fucked up people in the world.
Yeah, there are a lot of fucked up people in the world. And there's a lot of social media fuckboys in this world too, Nico.
I mean, and there's a lot of people just settle for that. But yeah, which social media fuckboy did you want to talk about?
Well, since we're running out of time, I want to talk about somebody that I called out for an MMA fight, and I was legitimately training to fight this guy. And I think, and I know for sure that I would have beat the brakes off of him, and I would have gotten some internet clout. But I had to mature and realize that internet clout really doesn't mean anything. We're talking about Dillon Danis.
Your favorite person?
He's not my favorite person. I have a favorite person out there. I have a few favorite people out there.
Who is your favorite person? Me?
Yeah, you know, for right now, you're my favorite person, Nico, because, you know, we make money together. We have a Patreon. Shout out to patreon.com/BJJGoons. We are stepping it up in 2023. 2022 was, you know, it wasn't the worst year. It wasn't the best year. But I'll tell you this, like, a lot of shit went down in 2022. And we survived.
We did.
Salute.
We're still here.
I mean, as of this recording, yes. But anyway, Dillon Danis is bowed out of his fight against YouTube influencer KSI. He said that he, according to Ariel Helwani, he says he was underprepared for the fight. There's another fight that Dillon Danis is backed out of. We only have a few minutes left in the show.
No, we have time to go into this. You know, we've been time out. We gotta give them I'm
trying to have a quick. I'm trying to have a very legitimate.
Tim be trying to hold on. We're gonna talk about
sharp
this.
Cut off for the algorithm, whatever the fuck that is. Because I always.
So anyway, basically what happens is Dillon goes on to Ariel Helwani. What is his last name?
Ariel
Helwani, okay, I wasn't sure.
Arguably
he goes on to his show late December. We even talked about Dillon fighting KSI. I'm not sure when the fight was announced, but he went on and did an interview December 20th, right before Christmas. So Ariel's never been a fan of Dillon. We're not a fan of Dillon. If you ever listen to any of his interviews, he is almost inaudible. It's very hard to understand the words that are coming out of his mouth.
What if he's neurodivergent? You're being really mean, Nico.
I've had somebody accuse him of being neurodivergent. So there's that. Yeah, he might be on the spectrum, but I say this as somebody that currently works in special education, and I have to deal with shit, literal shit, I know, you can be on the spectrum and still be an asshole. You can be nonverbal and still carry somebody. So equality. I've seen some kids do some crazy stuff, and I'll just be like, oh, look at him acting like a real kid. Not in a good way, but, just real. So, even if he is neurodivergent, Ariel didn't like him. He didn't want him on his podcast platform, but, people obviously convinced him to have him there. So that was a thing. And then, he said on this platform, I'm not sure if he said it before, he doesn't have a team that he's training under. He doesn't have a coach, and he doesn't have training partners. He's just kind of being a little nomad. So it's one thing to be a YouTube influencer. It's another thing to be an actual legitimate fighter and not have a camp or a coach, because that's never how you go into any kind of stand-up performance. It's one thing if you're doing it in jiu-jitsu. It's a dumb thing if you're doing it in jiu-jitsu, but it's completely you could get a concussion or brain damage if you're doing it in stand up. You don't have a camp, but he's obviously not dumb enough to just go and completely prepare because he's a black belt, but you're dumb enough to not have looked for a team to train you for this. Everybody knows, even Mackenzie Dern that likes to be half naked on the beach, she always has a team to back her and her fucking craziness. So that's the thing with Dillon. He went in and he openly admitted that, and then he pulled out. So obviously we know that he wasn't going to perform well on this fight. And then Ariel, his thing was just oh yeah, he's not showing up to it at all. So that's just the kind of BS that we get. He's always complaining. Even when he went on a flagrant, he had some of the producers coming off being oh, but he has a knee injury and that's why he's not fighting. No, he's a little bitch and that's why he's not fighting.
He signed a contract. He has to fight.
He's not fighting, and they've already replaced him.
Well, There's a great YouTuber / philosopher who just recently passed away. His name is Sinful the P. And he said, clout is more addictive than crack cocaine. And that boy Dillon Danis is addicted to clout. He's so addicted to clout. He's like a leech under Conor McGregor, and he tried to mimic Conor McGregor's whole steez without becoming a multi-millionaire. He talks shit about Khabib. He talks shit about all these people. But if you're gonna put up, you better show out. And he didn't. It's put up or shut up. And he didn't put up. He didn't show up to the match, to the fight. He signed the contract. He didn't show up. That's on him. And he wanted the clout. He wanted that attention. But unfortunately for him, this is all the worst kind of attention that you can get. He's a rich kid from my understanding. And yes, he came back from a severe knee injury. But if you're a rich kid.
But he came back from the severe knee injury and did what?
He was bullshitting. He was doing drugs and getting beat up by bouncers.
No, but like he came back. Did he have a fight after the knee injury? To come back means like you came back and like you competed and you did anything. So like let's not like twist the narrative. Like, or did he just have a knee injury and now he's back? He came back to social media, you mean? Or Tim, did he come back and he win anything?
Like, he was
I'm genuinely asking. Did he fight after his knee injury and win anything?
He hasn't. He went on the media tour. I don't know what's wrong with the kid. He had a lot of potential. He probably still has a lot of potential, but you know.
So he had a knee injury in his round.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's up with these new school guys. Like, I don't know. He's my generation, like jiu-jitsu guys, but a lot of these dudes are clout chasers and internet celebrities. And my whole issue with it, the whole discourse, is this: like, a lot of people talk shit about Dillon Danis. Most of the people that talk shit about Dillon Danis haven't accomplished the things that he's accomplished in martial arts. Yes, the guy talks a lot of shit, and yeah, he no-showed against KSI. That's a bad look. But let's be real here. Most of the guys that are in the fight game now, they're not really like killers. They're more like social media influencers than they are martial artists or fighters. Because you can talk about Dillon Danis, there's a lot of guys, I'm not going to name names, even in jiu-jitsu, especially in jiu-jitsu, that have situations where they got the media behind them, they're able to make the rules that they want to make, with the promotions that are buddy-buddy with them. They set everything up just so that they can build a narrative, and they hedge their bets. They set everything up so that they can win, and off the off chance that someone miraculously is able to beat them, considering the circumstances, they can build a narrative in which they don't look bad. And that's the issue with martial arts. We don't have enough time to talk about the Jake Paul thing and all that other shit. But I will say this. Combat sports is not about combat anymore. It's about making a scene. It's about being marketable. It's about clout. I think that that's where I'm at with the martial arts and with combat sports and with competition. And we have to nowadays understand that there's show business and fight business and there's actual martial arts.
Yeah, and I think it's important to not only understand it, but to focus on it, because like not everything is about chasing clout. It's like, but everything we see in the media. So like you can't just
hand in hand.
Yeah, and like not everybody, and I realize this, like not everybody gets that experience, because like a lot of people talk shit about TLI, of going in and just like hearing like Jamil, for example, black belt world champion. Jamil has such a great understanding of athletes in the colored belts, like blue belts and purple belts that are coming up. Like listening to him and Master Donnie just talk about like these random kids that are out competing just because they're genuinely interested in the sport and who's good at it in the evolution. Like it's like I think there is a jiu-jitsu university by Hubero. It's like that. It's definitely different from like that clout chasing, YouTube watching, like listening to high level people like really just break down and talk about it. And it doesn't even actually have to be high level, just people that are really like can understand the details and not just the clout. They really understand it as a martial art. That's still out there. We're just not seeing it as much on Flow Grappling. And not to say that people that are in the headlines aren't good, but it's just a myopic view of like the people that are out there, like the amount of people that are out at Europeans like right now, or that go and compete in Abu Dhabi. There's a lot of great athletes that aren't making it to IBJJF Worlds or Flow Grappling headlines.
For sure. With that note, last point I want to make is that there's a difference between being a martial artist and a professional combat athlete, prize fighter. Totally different.
Prize fighter is a good way to put it. A prize fighter.
Exactly. Well, Nico, on that note, I would like to say Happy New Year to all of the goons out there. On behalf of Nico and myself, I'd like to say thanks for watching another episode of BJJ Goons. And until next time, peace.